Hey guys, me again with another YouTube video. Today we're going to be taking a look at uh, I probably say this about every single custom RPK I do, but this is probably one of my favorite custom RPKs that I have done. This is affectionately nicknamed the Hissing Cockroach because it just sounded really cool. It's a name suggested by someone in the community as well, so thank you. You know who you are. Uh, we are going to look at this. This is essentially the final image, the final product, if you will. But then we are going to take a look at the development process from start to finish on this as well. This is, uh, like I said, probably like my favorite uh, custom RPKs that I've ever done itself. So we're going to go ahead and start with version 2. And as you can see, we have a little bit of some basis forming for the weapon itself. So what exactly this is, for those of you who do not know, is the end product. This here is a water-cooled uh, version of the RPK. The water tank is here. It uses gas from the actual firing of each bullet to move this pump here back and forth to actually pump water through a radiator system and cool the weapon itself. That's kind of the overall mythos of the weapon itself. I was going for this kind of cross between Metro as a series and steampunk, and I think I kind of nailed it on the head. And it's a really fun thing. It was a really cool experiment to do, and I like it. I love having tubing and everything coming down the weapon. Glass with gauges is not something often seen. Uh, Brass colored pieces as well. It was a really fun thing to do. So I originally started the concept by designing the foregrip that you see here. The magazine was actually easier to do than you guys think. This is just a standard 30 round magazine. This is 7.62 by 39 sitting right here. Like I said, pretty standard magazine, no big deal. I redesigned the handguard to a different look. I wanted to incorporate these beam pieces into the handguard itself because I thought it would be just kind of really neat, and it flares out. So on kind of the AK-74 models, on their bottom handguard, they have these little bumps that flare out for your thumbs to grab around to. So I wanted to do that, but I wanted to have it to use these lattice pieces because I think the lattice pieces are just a really neat look. So we've included that. We've given it kind of just some rigidity going on. And same thing up here is I've brought in the lattice design to the top of the handguard as well. At the time, I was going with this Xenago foregrip because I thought this looked pretty good with the overall look of the weapon. And then I added the water jacket underneath it. And this is kind of where we originally have this like idea of water cooling starting to happen here in this. So then we started with this, which was originally going to be some form of counterbalance recoil system, counterbalanced RPK. And then I kind of thought about, okay, well, if we have a cooling jacket down here, this needs to be enclosed because right now it's just half enclosed. It's half enclosed so that in the event your hand slips out here, the counter recoil system doesn't slam into you. So we started changing the design from there. We also started working on this top design portion here, which as you can see is basically retained for the most part throughout most of this. And we do lose the carry handle off to the side here, but it does come back eventually. So this is where like the base of the weapon starts to take shape. And then we move on to version number 3. Version 3 deals with some more experiments for the actual water jacket itself to be more of a rounded shape. So as you can see, we went with using the larger pre-molded pieces. And then this was going to be like the fill cap. You just plug in a hose here to fill it up. The problem with that, obviously, it's not as clean looking. I thought it wasn't as clean looking, so this is as far as version 3 ever went. we did go back to the other form of a fill jacket in this part of the project here. So as you can see, this is essentially what version 2 was, except now we've taken and we've filled out a little bit more of the actual top kind of rail portion here to, well, it's not really a rail. At this point in time, I thought it was going to be a rail for optics, but it changes. This eventually turns into a radiator. But for now, it's just what you see here. I just wanted to do this kind of neat design using the older style skeleton arms just to get a really neat look to it. We also started with our first form of tubing. So as you can see, this comes up and around down the side of the receiver. This does have clearance for the shells to eject. And then it comes down into this portion here, which is at a slight angle, which is supposed to come into this part of the receiver. So in universe, there's tubes running all around the inside of these receivers to keep them cool from extended periods of firing. And this just so happens to be where it kind of comes into the actual receiver. Obviously, I do understand that in real life, the side of an AK receiver is way too thin to be doing stuff like this, but it looks cool. We're messing around with Legos, and I mean, water-cooled RPK is unpractical as is anyway, so it's no big deal. Excuse me. So we've also included our first dial here, the only dial I should say, on the weapon to indicate heating and cooling. So light green means good, red means bad, your gun is overheating. Pretty basic feature. I'm still fighting a little bit with the color scheme of everything going on. So as you can see, we've got this, which is basically kind of this color, essentially. Except that I've always thought it looked better inside of LDD and not this kind of bright inside of Studio. But I still have this gray color going on up here, and it doesn't look as good. And I still have this open form of counterbalance recoil system because that's what I thought this was going to be still. So inevitably, we move on to version number, this is 5.25 because things get a little bit more complicated. Let me see if version 5 is, yeah, version 5 has a rendered image. So this is what version 5 originally looked like. Let's just open version 5 and start from there because there's small subtle differences between these types of things and I don't really know what. So this is version 5 of the weapon. So at this point I've settled on the color scheme for the upper part of this. I've switched from the gray to the brown, the more rust kind of color to give it that Metro Exodus kind of vibe to it. I've also enclosed the actual water pump with glass so that it acts more like an actual water pump now. Essentially, that this would be like full of water pumping through the system. I've also indicated where water returns back into the pump. So obviously, if the pump is circulating water through pipes, then there's got to be somewhere for the water to return. So this is the return for the actual water. So as you fire the weapon, the pump moves, it starts circulating water, it pushes through the big tube into the smaller tubes where it goes through the receiver, wraps around the handguard and everything, and then inevitably comes out through the return here. All that water also comes through this large radiator on top of the weapon so that it bleeds off heat, essentially. I have still retained the Zeniko front end, and I didn't really see much of a difference with 5.25, so we're going to go to 5.50 and see what's up with that. I was testing different stocks. So this is 5.50. I have included the vector stock that I built not too long ago because it is technically just an M4 buffer tube style of stock. So I included it here to see if I like the look or not. I don't. So I did not keep with that. And then we went to version 5.75, which went completely stockless. And we switched a little bit of some of the colors going on. And we've extended our magazine out to the more kind of standard acceptable Rpk 45 round magazines as well. Because usually we had the 30 round, which is way shorter. So now we've included the 45. We switched the color of the dust cover to black to give it a little bit more pizzazz. It sticks, as you can see. And we switch a little bit of some other colors going down the road. Like you can see the fire selector and stuff inevitably turns black, and it's still kind of silver in this. Then we are going to switch up to version number 6. As you can see, we start experimenting with changing the way the actual water cooling looks. Instead of having those multiple feed points coming in, it just kind of looked a little too messy. We switched to using this air compressor piece, one of my favorite pieces Lego has ever made, and just having one piece come out of it into the weapon itself, which I think overall looks much more cleaner. And as you can see, this piece does stay, though it does change over time. Then we go to version 6.25. We start testing more stocks, trying to just figure out which style of stock that we want. So this is the standard AK stock. It just so happens to be in bright orange. And honestly, it wasn't too bad of a look. It's just not what we were going for. So then we go to version 6.50. This goes back to the standard Rpk stock, except this is my updated version. It has a monopod built into it, which you can see here, and does feature the stock folding capability. A little bit better, but not like 100% sold on it. So then we go into version 6.75, where we switch to the form of stock that also has the suppressor pouch on it. And this is from my Rpk SIC project that I worked on kind of with Sick on in the community. I just wanted to do this because I was kind of thinking about trying to like put wires or something going into the rifle to help with water or something, because I've used this as a battery pack before, but it didn't work as well as I thought it was going to, so I kind of canceled that as well. So after that, we go to version 7. Where we start trying to integrate more of this kind of steampunk vibe into the weapon itself. So we do finally get sights on the weapon. It's inspired by the World War II sights for anti-aircraft use, where if you're like leading a target that's moving to the right, then you come over to like this side, or if it's going to the right and like going down, you come here. Obviously, if you're shooting dead on, you just go to the middle, but you have the option of moving the rear sight and everything around to different parts of the spiderweb up front to aim properly. So we do finally get sights on the weapon. We take an Rpk stock. We do retain the folding feature, though obviously with the tubing it's not going to be able to fold. We cut it out and we put this pretty large cylinder in here, thinking that I was going to kind of roll with it, with a shutoff valve as well for it. I scrapped this idea as well. It's just it does not do what I want it to do. So we do eventually get rid of that as well. It doesn't make any sense to have like a folding stock on it if you can't even fold it because there's a tube coming out of it. So we actually go back in time a little ways to ages ago, and we grab the Troy Industries Battle Axe stock. It's a stock that I have not used in forever. We poured it over and recreate it a little bit better using more modern techniques into what you see here. And we hollow out the inside of it. And the reason that we hollow out the inside of it is because we want to include a cleaning kit. So this is me actively working on the cleaning kit itself. So as you can see, there's a brush and then a punch for taking down pins, another brush off to the side here, and then a bottle for oil here. And it all sits inside this little carry container, and then this carry container slides into the stock right here, which actually carries on to the final product itself. So that's version 7.25, and then inevitably we finally get to version 8. We completely skipped over version 1, by the way. We started with version 2, so my bad. So this is the final product all put together. As you can see, it took a lot to get here, a lot of man hours and stuff, but this is, like I said, probably one of my more favorite custom RPKs that I've ever done. I've really enjoyed making this one from start to finish. It's fun. It really does fit that Metro and steampunk vibe. I love that it's water cooled, and that there's this kind of idea that the more you shoot it, the more the water pump moves back and forth, so the more the water is circulating. The only other gun that I can even remotely think about is one that Ian did a review on, where the more you shot it, there was like a fan that would spin, that would suck in air. So obviously, the more you shot it, the faster it would spin, the more air it would suck in. And this is kind of following after that same kind of idea, where you can tap gases off of your gas block here to force this piston to move back and forth to literally pump water throughout the gun without having to power it with electricity or anything. That said, though, I mean, this has been a pretty long video. You guys have seen, everything that you want to see. If you guys do want to see what the first one ever looked like, though, we can take a look at that real quick. This is what the first version looked like. Pretty basic, pretty ugly stuff. As you can see, this tube and everything just ended in a completely different place. It didn't cross over the receiver over here. This came out and came around. Yeah, just bad stuff, bad stuff, bad stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the Rpk Mark.III Hissing Cockroach version 8, which is what you're looking at here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to comment and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. See you guys later in another YouTube video another time.